Chet!
Uh-oh.
Kathleen Kennedy is out. And, it sounds like a great thing. Probably is a good thing overall, but we gotta see how this goes. Let's just get into it. Star Wars Theory posted a video about Kathleen Kennedy leaving, and most likely Dave Filoni is going to be taking over. And yeah, he's had some problems.
Oh my god, bro.
But hopefully overall it's just a better experience. We have seen some things that he worked on that weren't as good as Clone Wars. So hopefully it goes well. I'm excited to see the future.
The main thing is to protect these characters. Make sure that they still continue to live in the way that you created them. We don't have source material. We don't have 800.
We don't have source material. What are you talking about?
100-page books that we're adapting.
And obviously we have hundreds of books and comics and everything you could possibly imagine.
We don't even.
And I've bought them all. Not all of them, but I want to buy everything that I can. I'm not gonna lie, I want to read every single Legends book, but I'm too poor.
We really have comic books.
Mm-hmm.
We have a mythology.
I have story treatments of 7, 8, and 9, and
So that was a fucking lie. From her, not him.
a bunch of other movies. And
George Lucas never wrote a script for 7, 8, or 9.
What are you talking about?
And the ideas that I think you're referencing are ideas that he had for other possible movies.
and I had the story treatments or outlines,
7, 8, and 9.
And we were working on scripts.
Since I didn't use my stories, I have no idea what they're doing.
Oh boy.
It doesn't matter if he didn't have scripts. If he had a whole fucking story outlined, you could have wrote a script for that. But they didn't do it. And now we know what the story was supposed to be about for 7, 8, and 9, and they did nothing even close to what he was planning.
We have finally arrived after all the many years. Star Wars doesn't have any source material. All of the bad decisions. I mean, we're going back to the signing of Lucasfilm. Originally, when George signed Lucasfilm off to Disney, to Bob Iger, he appointed Kathy as the president of...
Bob Iger. No.
Lucasfilm pretty much like days before he went to sign, and Bob was thrown off.
Also, by the way, this is Disney when they took over Star Wars.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Off by it. And he writes this in his book. He was like, okay. And George appointed Kathy right before he signed as the president of Lucasfilm because
They don't
he trusted
know what
her
the fuck
to
they're
take care
doing.
of his characters and his story. And while I wish Kathy the best on her next adventure, as a human being, as a beloved fan of Star Wars and how it's changed my life far beyond this channel, since I was a wee lad, there was no one better in history than Kathleen Kennedy to have strayed this brand further from what George would have wanted. The Disney division will be run by Chief Creative Officer Dave Filoni, and on the business side, Lin-Wen Brennan. Kennedy has
I'm gonna come.
been getting them ready for a couple of years as she plotted a return to her first love, producing. The expansion also included 5 animated series, the Disneyland and Disney World attractions, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and the evolution of Lucasfilm Games, the downgrade of LucasArts, which had...
Oh, downgrade? No, they killed LucasArts. Do you not remember that? Who wrote this article? They killed it. They took it out back and chopped its fucking head off. What are you talking about? No, but didn't I hear something about Galaxy's Edge they're taking away all the sequel trilogy stuff and replacing it with original trilogy or prequel or whatever.
Had this many games compared to
Oh my gosh.
downgrade of LucasArts, which had this many games.
Yeah. And there's more than you can even see right there.
Compared to this many games.
That's not all of them. That's not all of them. No, that's not even all of them. Where's Starfighter? Or Jedi Fighter, or whatever the fuck, Flight Simulator, whatever the hell. Not that I care about it at all. Oh, didn't I get Outlaws? I still have yet to play that game. I bought it when it was on sale, by the way, chat. Star Wars Outlaws. Oh, I did get it. I bought it when it was on sale with the free money that I got from my job for Christmas.
Kennedy has been discussing the succession plan for 2 years.
So I didn't even spend my own money on this game. That's how much it's worth to me.
Disney's Bob Iger and Alan Bergman. Here she explains to Deadline why now and what's ahead for her. 2 years ago,
I only want to play it because I want to play every Star Wars game. Which is kind of a problem, because when they make something that's not good, and I still buy it, then they're like, oh, well, people are still buying it, because it's Star Wars, so we can make bad stuff, and people will buy it regardless.
I went to Bob and Alan to figure out what the transition plan would be, and I made the recommendation that
good
it be
thing for the
Dave Filoni
industry.
and Lin-Wen Brennan. Dave is the perfect person to transition, but he hadn't made a movie, and I worked very closely with him beginning with Rogue One to get him a feel of how live action works. His background is animation, as he worked with George on Clone Wars. He's very talented and immersed in Star Wars. He and Pablo Hidalgo are like the walking encyclopedias inside the company. Which, mind you, Pablo, before Kathleen was hired, did not have his position. Once she got
Pablo?
hired, she just promoted.
Let me know if y'all get that reference, bro. It's from the fucking Gaming Lemon from, like, 2011. Pablo. The Skyrim bear.
The heck out of him. They always have the answer when you ask, hey, can I do this with a lightsaber? Yeah, kind of like when the High Republic, when they approved a lightsaber to to slow down a Jedi when they were stabbing it into a cliff. Or what colors were the sabers? Or like in The Acolyte, should this character even be alive?
So a young Kiadi-Mundi stepped in. A young... So young, we had to make his birth date 40 years earlier because he was that young.
Or anything else you need to know with what has come before, like source material.
We don't have source material.
Oh, here's a good one. What have been the highs and lows of running a company built on such beloved IP? She's never going to talk about the actual elephant in the room. She's just going to ignore it as she always does and talk about how amazing and great it's been. The highs include realizing how many people love Star Wars. That's one way to put it. The majority of people, and certainly the people that I run into and people outside the business, they love Star Wars. They love the movies. They might love all the shows. They might love some of the shows. But when I came into this, I realized a few things. We had walked in at a moment when there hadn't been any movies for 10 years or more. But there was still the memory of the greatest series of movies in cinema history. So you're walking into something that has enormous expectations. Yet at the same time, you know that you've got to find new characters and you have to expand the galaxy. And you need to think about who the new audience is. Wow, so wrong. That's what I feel that I did. And that's what I feel all the people that I've worked with over the last decade did. The highs include bringing
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
in a new audience. I think we did find new characters. We continue to find new characters. And those characters continue to try and find themselves because the directors and writers don't even know. So I mean, how would they? How would the actors didn't even know until the last minute? And this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly why Star Wars failed under Kathleen Kennedy. So she recognizes that George Lucas created something timeless.
I recognize that the council has made a decision, but given that it's a stupid-ass decision, I've elected to ignore it.
And something extremely popular and beloved. Yet at the same time, she felt that you have to find new characters and you have to expand the galaxy and you need to think about...
Wait, have y'all seen the Star Wars YTPs where they put Mace Windu and Nick Fury's lines together and shit, and they mix them up and they Sometimes they make Mace Windu go, say what again? I double dog dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time. They do stuff like that. I love those videos.
That was a bad mistake.
When George was making Star Wars, he didn't try to think of any of it.
I forgot that deleted scene. That was a bad mistake.
He didn't try to think of who is the new audience. Who will like this? He was just telling a story. And when you tell a good story, the audience finds you, not the other way around. When you chase the money runs away. When you focus on passion, the money finds you. The audience finds you. The customers find you. That's what you failed to understand, and we all paid for it. The highs include bringing in a new audience. It's not to continue the story and the legacy that George Lucas created, but it's to find a new audience, and a new audience they did find. Someone who won't even support the very things that they supposedly love so much.
Well, this is the fucked up part, is the kids aren't even buying the fucking toys of the characters. So, like, you're not even appealing to the kids enough to want to beg their parents to spend money on the toys for the characters or the movies that you created. So who are you catering to then? If the adults think your movies are dumb and the kids don't even watch them, who is your audience?
And stand by. Like The Acolyte, for example, which cost $250 million.
Oh, yes.
I think we did find new characters. Yeah, you found them, but you never fleshed them out. You never told them properly, and you never made us feel an ounce of the emotion and connection.
I'm still convinced that The Acolyte, for every single episode except for that one episode where it was actually kind of decent, was a money laundering scheme.
That George made us feel with the characters that he wrote, he put on screen, that he directed. We continue to find new characters. I think you should stop doing that. I think all the characters are already out there that George created, and you just need to...
Bro said, I think you should stop doing that.
Add on those, and then close their book respectfully, and you didn't do that with Luke. And that's why so many people have a problem with Star Wars, so many people have a problem with you. But I guess we're all just sexist racists.
I don't believe that. And you're sounding like a separatist.
The lows? Ooh, going for it. The lows are that you've got a very, very small percentage of the fan base that has enormous expectations, and basically they want to continue to see pretty much the same thing. The level of just incapable of being self-aware.
Well, the funny thing is, the new trilogy, if you had gone based on George's outline, would have been nothing like anything that we've seen before. So you thought that everyone wanted to see the same thing. So you made a movie to start out with that basically only had one of the original characters in it, except for Chewie. And Leia was at the end of the movie, and then fucking Luke was at the very end, the last fucking 5 seconds of the movie. So what are you talking about here?
This is the most telling and closing chapter on her tenure at Lucasfilm, and I'm going to dismantle it. Do you guys see how she is calling us very, very small percentage of the fan base? Is it a very small percentage of the fan base that didn't watch The Acolyte? Yeah. So which small percentage are you talking about?
It does not exist.
We have enormous expectations and basically dumbed down.
You know what? You know what we should do for the people who don't watch The Acolyte? Wait, that made no sense. That made no sense.
Just want to see pretty much the same thing. No, dear Kathleen, we just want to see a continuation of the stories and the characters that we love. We want to see a continuation of the characters we grew up with, the characters that we looked towards for hope and courage and strength, the characters that you bastardized, the characters that you destroyed, the lack of respect that you gave to George Lucas after you told him to his face and to the world that the only thing you care about is respecting these stories.
The main thing is to protect these characters.
I think
Make
the
sure-
biggest crime of this whole thing is that they wasted the original trilogy characters, and now some of the actors are dead. Like, the actors themselves are not alive anymore. So you can't do it and make it good even if you wanted to redo it. Because now, who do we have left? Han Solo. Harrison Ford isn't going to come back to Star Wars. I don't think that would ever happen. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. I don't think he wants to ever come back to Star Wars either after what you did. Maybe he's Jake Skywalker. And Carrie Fisher is no longer with us. Peter Mayhew, I'm pretty sure, is no longer with us either. Isn't Anthony Daniels also no longer with us? Like, it's crazy that you fumbled it this hard and you had all of the original trilogy actors except for, like, the body of Darth Vader. James Earl Jones is gone now. Like, bro. The body, the face, and the voice of Darth Vader are all dead. So is Obi-Wan. Alec Guinness. So is Tarkin. Peter Cushing, I think? Isn't that his name? They're all gone. Everyone's gone except for fucking Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. It's the only characters you could even use, and they don't want to. I guarantee you they don't want to come back.
That they still continue to live in the way that you created them.
And if you're not going to do that, then you know going in that you're going to disappoint them. It's incredible. You disappointed us because you said that there was no source material. You said that we don't have books and comics and games. Boy, were you wrong. You disappointed us when you started to call us sexist and racist, and that's not to ignore the fact that those people exist. Of course they exist. Those people exist everywhere. But when you call the very, very small percentage of the fan base that has enormous expectations and basically is just dumb and wants the same old thing over and over again, you're kind of just showing your true colors. And in fact, from Bob Iger's book, the reason George had such a hard time watching The Force Awakens, and I quote, he said, they just want to do the same thing. And that's because you guys literally did the same thing. You just repeated elements of the original trilogy sprinkled all throughout The Force Awakens. You added the same sort of climate of planets. You brought these evolved, beloved characters, Han Solo, Leia, and Luke, and you degraded them. You took them back to well before we even met them. Luke was disillusioned and didn't believe in himself in Episode 4. That's the same place you put him in Episode 5 when he should have been transcended beyond. Han Solo was a smuggler that really only cared about himself, turned into a hero, a war hero, a general, a fighter, a lover. When he was going around, just sleeping with whoever, he became devoted and fell in love with Leia. But you regressed him. You split them up. The father figure is no more. He failed. He's now back to being a deadbeat. And then you killed him off. George had the sequel trilogy treatment. I've made videos about it. It's documented, well documented. There's
That's
proof
so
of it.
funny because, why the fuck do we care about your reaction? I don't have any connection to you, bruh. We had a connection to the original characters because they were good. We had the connection to the prequel trilogy characters because they were good. When you make bad characters, and they're not even, actual characters. They're fucking archetypes of a character. They don't even have personalities, except for Finn and Poe, kind of. Until The Last Jedi, then he sucks. Like, why? I cared more about seeing Chewbacca's reaction than Rey's reaction to Han Solo's death.
Of his interaction, his interview with Paul Duncan, there's literature about it. And yet you chose not to use it. And Bob Iger even said that he found it weird that George Lucas was expecting him to use the sequel trilogy treatment that he gave them, that he sold to them, that Disney purchased from him just to lock away so that nobody can ever get to it again. I'm not sure there's anything you can do about that. But just tell good stories, because you can't please everybody. No, you can't. That's true. All you can do is try to tell good stories and try to stick to the essence of...
No.
Hell no, man. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man.
What the fuck, man?
So if you're trying to stick to the essence of what George created, but you're complaining that all people want
Why
is
we got the same soundboard, bro? What is
much
this?
the same thing, yet you go and you literally just recreate the same old crap in The Force Awakens, which is exactly what George Lucas said, then what point are you really trying to make? Because it just kind of seems like you're dilly-dallying and you don't really know what stance you have. He embedded incredible values into Star Wars and what it has to say. Okay, what are those values, Kathleen? I mean, since there's so much source material, what are those values? What of those values did you present into your movies of Star Wars, into your version of Star Wars, when you decided to blatantly go against what he wanted to do, what he wanted his story to be, and you wanted to do your own thing, which George has said many times?
The ones that I sold to Disney and everything, they came up to the decision that they didn't really want to do those, so they made up their own.
George Lucas never wrote a script for 7, 8, or 9.
So it's not the ones that I originally wrote.
The whole idea of hope and fun and entertainment and what he's done over all the years,
Ridiculous,
that's
bro.
what I tried to preserve. Well, you failed. And I wouldn't do that any differently, and I wouldn't change anything that we've done over the years. Well, I'm happy you're stepping down.
Why does her face look like a fish?
Because you don't understand. I understand why some people may like certain things more than others. You mean like good storytelling, for example? But that's not going to change why I decided to do certain things and why I decided to work with the people that we worked with. Okay, well, since you're on the topic, why did you decide to do that? Because you divided an entire fan base. You destroyed a legacy. And now Dave Filoni has to do his best to pick up the pieces and use Kinsuki to put it back together. Hopefully, he's still on our side and he hasn't been...
Isn't that the shit that they did to put Kylo Ren's mask back together? Bro, they literally... They made an actual reference to course correcting. So when they broke Kylo Ren's mask, they fixed it in the next movie. They broke the lightsaber in half. They fixed it in the next movie. Like, bro, they were literally course correcting in the most literal sense. And I hated it. It was horrible. And they made The Rise of Skywalker, which is a horrible name to begin with, even worse than I had ever expected.
Twisted by the Dark Lord.
I feel the good in you. The conflict.
There is no conflict.
I think everybody that came into Star Wars space, they love Star Wars, and that was the first and foremost important. You want to have people coming into Star Wars and wanting to tell stories and wanting to make movies and wanting to create television shows that you respect and care about. Jon Favreau is completely different than Tony Gilroy, and yet they're both incredibly talented storytellers. Is that why you gave Tony Gilroy about $800 million for his projects, yet everything else that Jon Favreau did got maybe a fraction of that? I found it thrilling to support each one of them in trying to tell the stories they wanted to tell. Well, I heard that you were making too many executive decisions with The Mandalorian, and that's why Mando Season 3 was totally different from Mando Season 1 and 2. But hey, what do I know? I just hear things. That's what I want to do well, and that's what I like to do and want to continue to do. And hopefully that took Star Wars into the next step. We'll see in the long run, but it feels like I did. I feel like we expanded the universe. Hey, you stretched it thin. We brought new audiences in. You sure did. And you lost the old ones, the loyal ones, the ones that actually bought and purchased things. But especially with something like Star Wars, where George just created something that became a part of everyone's childhood. And why was that, Kathy? You ask yourself this, why did it do so well?
Yeah,
Every single
no, that's so true, though. They brought in the new audience that just watches the thing and moves on with their life. And they lost the people that actually interact with the brand in meaningful and monetary ways.
filmmaker that walks in and wants to work on Star Wars, the first thing they say to me, the first thing I hear is, let me tell you about when I went to see Star Wars for the first time with my dad. If every single one of those people told you that, then wouldn't you want to continue that legacy instead of focusing on finding a new audience? Instead, you would want to focus on the audience you already have instead of alienating them by completely changing script. Back when J.J. Abrams started the third cycle of Star Wars films, I asked a lot of filmmakers how that very first film affected them. My favorite recreation came from Ridley Scott. When I interviewed him for the film The Martian, he looked at me hard and goes, well, this is what happened. And he told this great story about being with David Putnam, and they were working on Tristan and Isolde as his next film, and took a break to see this movie everyone was talking about. Ridley found himself getting more and more pissed while he was watching it. Not because he didn't like George or his movies, but because he didn't think of it first. As he exited the theater with Putnam, he turned to the producer and said, I think I'm not going to be able to do this movie with you. I've got to go to space. That led him to Alien. You always hear how Bruce Springsteen or other musicians watched Elvis Presley or the Beatles in those early days of television and knew what they wanted to do with their lives. George did a version of that with his first trilogy. How did it change you? Wow, I didn't know this interview was going to be this crazy, bro. All right. Kathleen says, I didn't realize that about Ridley. That's fantastic.
What was that
it's
mug?
Crazy, bro. All right.
That's a crazy looking mug.
Kathleen says, I didn't realize that about Ridley. That's fantastic. So many of us can talk about the moment that they saw Star Wars. It changed so many people in the movie business. And the way you thought about what you wanted to do because of what we were just talking about. The new tools and innovation and how we tell stories and how you create imagery. He created a world in a way that 10 years before you couldn't have done. And everyone was blown away by seeing something. So she just completely danced around the question. George did a version of that with his first trilogy. How did it change you? I guess she was talking about the technology of it. Coogler went into the genre sandbox and turned it completely on its ear and made it relevant to everyone as they thought about their own tribal roots and origin stories. I don't think I'd ever seen that in a movie quite like he did it. I imagine you'd give your eye teeth to have a guy... I've never heard that. You'd give your eye teeth to have a guy like that where he could make a mark in the Star Wars universe. Oh, trust me, Mike, this is big. This is a big part of what I've tried to do.
Chat.
Sit with the people that I would love to see step inside this space and create something that we've never seen before. But Star Wars isn't really Ryan's thing. The trickiest thing is to find a filmmaker and say, you can step into this space and you can still be you. No, you got to step in the space and try and be as close to George as you possibly can. It's still going to be you regardless because you're not George. And you got your own way of shooting and doing things, but you still have to think along those lines. It's like you have a famous recipe and then all of a sudden you come in, oh, we want to cater to a new audience. You just completely change the recipe. It's no longer the same famous recipe. It's something totally different. And then you wonder why people didn't like it. Well, that was your market.
Coca-Cola.
Man, that was your freaking audience. By the time we were talking about Andor, he found a way in because he realized there was something important he had to say.
Crystal
and he
Pepsi.
could do it inside Star Wars. And that started to become very exciting for him. It's thrilling to try and find that. I've had eerily conversations with David Fincher with Vince Gilligan for TV. I have sat down with Alex Garland and others where the minute you say their name, you go, oh, that might be an interesting Star Wars. But not everybody is just to go, oh, yeah, great. I'm going to drop everything and spend the next 3 to 5 years trying to figure this out. That's the other thing to consider. These are really complicated, difficult movies to make. Far more than I think people give them credit for. People have to set their lives aside for years. Whoa! People have to work and get paid tens of millions to create Star Wars?
That's crazy.
How many years on average? 3 to 5 from the time that you start developing, and then what's involved is concept work and creation. Yeah, it sounds like a really tough job, man. Let's get what the fans are eager to know. The progress on films and series.
I wonder why he can relate to that. No idea.
Makers who've committed to putting in that 3 to 5 years. Ryan Johnson, James Mangold, Simon Kinberg, Taika Waititi. Where are all their projects at? This dude's asking the hard-hitting questions. I wouldn't be surprised if Kathleen Kennedy or her team had him ask these questions so that they could be addressed by her one last time. I've got to tread a bit carefully here. Jim Mangold and Beau Williamson wrote an incredible script, but it is definitely breaking the mold, and it's on hold. Taika has turned in a script that I think is hilarious and great. It's not just my decision, especially when I've got a foot out the door. Donald Glover has turned in a script, and as you have read, Steve Soderbergh...
I kind of hope that Taika never makes a Star Wars movie.
Adam Driver turned in a script written by Scott Burns. It was just great. Anything's a possibility if somebody's willing to take a risk. I remember when I came into this job, the first thing Bob Iger said to me was, be bold. I've always liked that because I think you have to be bold and you have to be willing to take risks with people and with ideas.
They fly now? They fly now!
Otherwise, you are just doing the same thing. Right now, we're in an era where companies are so risk averse, and I get it. I hear all the conversations. They've got Wall Street to please, and I get it. But I also believe that's what contributes to things disappearing, ultimately. Holy shit. It's like she's self-aware but not aware. I just think you have to take those chances. Everything I just reeled off to you is taking a bit of a chance because none of those filmmakers are just walking in trying to do same old, same old. Dude, what is, like, she thinks if you tell Star Wars the way George would have wanted it, then you're doing the same old. We're not going and remaking the films, Kathy. We got to go in and continue the story. That's not telling the same old just because it's using the characters that we want to see more of. That's telling a new story with characters that did the grunt work, and we went through the time of learning their grunt work. Luke in episode 4, 5, 6. Okay, great. Now he's ready. Now he's a Jedi Knight. And we can see as he transcends into a Jedi Master, what's he going to be like? What's the galaxy looking like? No, we didn't get that because apparently it's the same old. So what, you have like, man, it's, the lack of self-awareness is strong with this one. What about Rian Johnson returning after Star Wars Episode 8 and The Last Jedi grossed $1.3 billion globally? We expected him to return. The Last Jedi grossed so much because you guys left Luke Skywalker on a cliffhanger, literally, after we wanted to see
literally,
him
yeah, I was
for
going to
30
say.
to 40 years. Once he made the Netflix deal and went off doing the Knives Out films that has occupied a huge amount of his time, that's the other thing that happens here. After Sean and I started discussing Star Wars, Stranger Things kicks in, and he was completely consumed for a while by that. That's what happened with Ryan. And then I do believe he got spooked by online negativity. Oh my God. There's no self-awareness from these people. It's so weird, man. It's like she doesn't even watch what George says about these things. He's a brilliant filmmaker and he got spooked. This is the rough part. When people come into this space, I have every filmmaker and actor say to me, what's going to happen? They're a little scared. They don't have to be scared if you just make it good. It's that simple. If you just respect what George created, you respect the characters, and you respect the fandom. It's so freaking simple, man. That's all. You've developed a thicker skin, no doubt. A thicker skin only goes hand in hand with being self-aware. You have to be self-aware, especially when you're in the limelight or whatever. You have to be self-aware. You can't just think, oh, yeah, my shit don't stink. It does. And you got to know.
It stinks. It stinks a lot.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no.
It stinks a lot.
Okay, what can I do to be a better person going forwards? And what can I do to make a better product? Everyone has faults and everyone has pros, but at the end of the day, you got to know the difference between the two and what you can improve on, because we can all improve. Everybody can improve. You can't have been used to all the criticism when you were producing all these movies with Frank Marshall or for Steven Spielberg. What do you say to ease the apprehension of these newcomers to the Star Wars universe? Well, you don't got to worry about Dave. He's been in this game since way before you. Every time you release another movie or series, it's like fire in the hole. Well, yeah, just make it be good. I'm honest, especially with the women that come into this space. Here we go again. Even with the women that come into this space because they get unfairly targeted, I think everyone gets equally fairly targeted. I think if you say stupid, inflammatory things to the fan base, you will get targeted, whether you are a man or woman or an inanimate object. I don't try to sugarcoat it, and I emphasize that it's a very small group of people with loud megaphones. Fucking hell. It's always a small group of people. Yeah. I truly do not believe that it's the majority of the fans. No, of course not. And I think we are also in this weird world of where bots can affect things. Bots?
Well, if droids could think, there'd be none of us here, would there?
But you're talking about fans who have megaphones, so fans who have an audience, like me, for example, and many others, social media, and yet you're sitting at one of the most powerful seats in all of media world as the president of Lucasfilm, and you're going to talk to us about bots? Huh. At least we know that bots exist now. You have to develop tough skin. That is exactly right. That's what you have to do. You can't make it go away. Well, you kind of can if you just tell good stories, respect the fan base, and don't try and single anyone out. Pretty easy, really.
Yep.
Even then, not everyone's going to like you, and even then, you're going to have psychopaths. I mean, that's part of being on the internet. That's part of being a public figure. But that's not the majority. All we can do is put our heads down and do the work and believe that we're doing the best we can, telling the best story we can. And if somebody gets really nervous about it and doesn't want to do it, I say, then don't do it, because I can't tell you this won't happen. It's okay to fuck up. And you know, even with The Last Jedi, if she had just come out and said, I thought I was trying to do something different. I didn't want to do something that was just the same old thing, and I may have gone too far. And I'm sorry if that didn't resonate with a lot of Star Wars fans, but it also tells a story that I thought would have been interesting. Maybe I missed the mark for some.
Nah, it's so stupid that they did it this way, because they wanted to make a similar story. So they made a similar story. And then people didn't like the similar story. So they made one that was completely different from what everyone thought. And then people didn't like that one. And so then they went back and course corrected it, literally, like I said, with the lightsaber and the helmet. They literally fixed the shit that was broken in the last movie. They made Luke Skywalker go, a lightsaber is a Jedi's tool that's supposed to be respected. And they made the same type of story as Return of the Jedi. So what the fuck? Like, they couldn't make their damn minds up.
And for those who really enjoyed
and just
it, I'm with
stick
you.
to one
shit,
thing.
Even that goes a long way. But then to wear the Force's female shirt, to, you know, berate fans and say, oh, that they're sexist and they're racist. And absolutely, there are weirdos, man. I deal with that shit every day of my life for the last 10 years. Psychopaths. And I can only imagine what, people more in the limelight feel or get or receive. But that's not the majority. Those are the small group of people with megaphones. Not the fans that just want to see good stories. Not the father and the daughter that come up to me at the booth all the time. And they'll say that essentially they'll all have kind of the same story with what's happening with Star Wars. And it's like I have the answer. It's like, well, no, Kathy has the answer. Clearly she doesn't. Are there any Star Wars films or spin-offs the fan base will never forgive me for overlooking? We've talked about this new trilogy, and then the things that you've mentioned. Mangold is really on the back burner, as is Soderbergh. I think the ones by Taika and Donald are still somewhat alive. I think somewhat alive. You're the president. What do you mean I think? It's somewhat alive. She was alive. I felt it.
She was alive.
I felt it.
It seems in your anger, you killed her.
Wait, why was that impression kind of
That's going to
good?
be really up to the new team to figure out. Okay, so it's Dave.
seems
If
in
Dave
your
wants to be like, nah,
anger,
we're not doing this.
You
Great.
killed her.
Dave, clean house, dude. Come on. Now's the time.
You
are in
killed her.
command. Dave, I know that Dave and Linwin are very much on board with what Simon's doing, and that would be a new trilogy. In the timeline of things, that makes you well into 2030 plus. So that's really what's up next. How long is this shit, bro? Sounds like you're...
I don't want a new trilogy. I don't want it. I don't want it. Unless they want to say that there really wasn't a 7, 8, and 9, and that now they're making 7, 8, and 9. Fine, do that. But please actually make it good. But do not waste everybody's money again.
Managing the fact you're an infinite resource. George Lucas has certainly found new purpose with the Museum of Narrative Art. Frank and I just had dinner with George weeks ago, and when he came over to London, he's so engaged. When George asked me to do this job, I felt an incredible responsibility to him more than ever. Star Wars, and I feel really gratified that he's happy with where things are. Is he?
He's not, though.
I sold them to the white slavers that
wish I had that sound effect. I need to add it, bro.
Take these things and since I didn't use my stories, I have no idea what they're doing.
And I think he felt relieved that he sold the company and that we've cared so much about being the guardians, the caretakers of it. Building this museum, which is really representative of his legacy, has just put him in a really good place. He settled in, realizing what he accomplished and what he contributed to the film industry has been recognized in such an amazing way and always will be. Yeah. Oh my God. There's so much scrutiny on all things Star Wars and Indiana Jones. They seem to really recognize that there is a lot of talk and backlash and rhetoric around Star Wars. But my comment is they should be focused on why there is so much rhetoric. And that half-ass answer that she gave, that it's just a small group of the fan base who basically just wants to see the same old thing. What? There's so much scrutiny on all things Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Some work better than others, but they all seem to gross big numbers. Is there any you wish you had back and maybe you could have done better with more time? Or that you let go, she's going to say no, or that you let go something you'd love to have seen to get major, yet no, I don't really have any regrets. Of course not. Well, maybe a bit of regret about Solo, a Star Wars story. I brought Larry Kasdan on, and we were so excited about the idea, and when you're into something and you realize, fundamentally, conceptually, you cannot replace Han Solo, at least right now, as wonderful as Alden Ehrenreich was, and he really was good and is a wonderful actor, we put him in an impossible situation, and once you're in it, and once you're committed, you've got to carry on. I think I have a bit of regret about that, but not about movie making and filmmaking. Bro, she originally, I remember...
No, nobody gave a fuck about... That is not why Solo was low rated and why it was boycotted. It was boycotted because you made The Last Jedi right before it, and it was bad. And so people are like, okay, we're just gonna boycott Star Wars then. Because they're doing bad shit and they can't get it right, so fuck it, I'm not seeing their next movie. And so people didn't see their next movie. I don't know how many people actually took that seriously and did it. But I didn't see the movie in theaters. I probably should have, because they made a good movie. It wasn't necessarily the best Star Wars movie, but at least it was a good fucking movie that they made.
I made a video about this like 2017 or 2018. She talked about how Solo bombed because there were too many Star Wars projects coming out. And then she talked about how recently she talked about Solo bombed because we didn't have deep fake technology. Because you can't replace Harrison Ford.
Oh my god.
What? Let's look at the comments. Too late, the damage has been done. She was an absolute disaster for the franchise. Filoni won't be better. Colossal failure. She should have taken the page out of Feige's Infinity Saga on day one.
Yes.
Tony Gilroy was not in charge of piloting the ship that is everything Star Wars. I mean, seriously, who goes into a trilogy without a plan? Imagine if Tolkien had done that. And yes, this could have been up there with Lord of the Rings had a true creative force who understood the magic had been at the helm. There was a lot we unpacked from this video here, and I just want to say, you know, I wish Kathleen Kennedy the best in her life, and I just wish that we get great Star Wars. Because at the end of the day, wishing someone ill will or whatever is just not the Jedi way, and it's not going to get us better Star Wars. I'm happy that she's stepping away from it. I'm happy she's going to focus on something that she's more passionate about or wants to pursue going forwards, and I just hope that we get better Star Wars stories that truly respect George Lucas and the fandom as a whole. And first and foremost, just tell a story. They just tell a good story. There's no race card, gender card. There's none of this bullshit. It's just good storytelling. Now, whether it's a person of color or it's a female or it's a male or it's whatever it is, as long as it is a good story that has character progression, hero's journey, trials and tribulations, and an overarching fundamentally interesting plot. Great. Sign me up. And it's got the Force and lightsabers? Cool. You got Star Wars, baby. And to that, I say, on to better Star Wars movies. This has finally happened. This is a new era. And I wish us all the best. And may the Force
be with you. I hope that it's better. I hope it is better, bro. I don't have a lot of faith in Disney, though. They've been kind of failing on every single front. Like literally every front that they could be failing on, they are failing on. The MCU isn't good right now. Star Wars isn't good and hasn't been good for forever. Disney itself, the live action isn't good. I'm pretty sure their last few animated movies haven't been good. Pixar isn't good. What do they have left? All of their franchises are failing right now. Was Percy Jackson good? Is that Disney's saving grace right now? Where they just completely disregarded like the descriptions of the characters in the fucking book? Like, what do they have left, bruh? How is Disney still a company? Oh my god. Alright. Anyways, chat, subscribe.
Let's up those numbers!
Like, comment, let me know your thoughts down below. And hype the video if you're on mobile, please. I promise. I will give you a cookie? I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. Anyways, I'll see y'all later.
Uh-oh.